Hello, my name's Vicky and I'm from Bristol Print Collective, and I'm going to show you how to get started on your Lino Cut kit. So I'm really excited, and to start with, we're going to open up the kit and see what's inside. Great, so inside the kit we have some water-based block printing ink, printing roller, lino cutter, this is the handle, and these are the 3 blades that you've got in a little bag. And the next thing you may find is the booklet. And this explains everything that I'm going to run through. So it tells you about the materials, runs through each step, and how you can go from drawing to cutting to printing. And this is illustrated by me. And the blue surface here is your lino, and this is really soft. It's called Easy Cut Lino because it is easy to cut, and I came across it when I was working in a school and the pupils were using it, and I was really envious because the lino I was using was much harder. And so I started on this, and this is great for my workshops that I run with Bristol Print Collective. So we provide this in our workshop, so hence it's in your kit. And so there's 2 A6, or some of you may have got it as a 1 A5 block, but you can just cut it in half really easily with scissors or with craft knife. But I'll show you that later. This is your little tester block. So if it's your first time cutting, you'll be nervous about cutting with the lino, and you don't need to be nervous at all. You've got your little tester block here, but you can also with this lino use it double-sided, and as long as you don't cut too deep. But we'll get into that later. And some of the Christmas present receivers will have got some of the paper in their lino kit as well. So this is different types of cartridge paper and some brown craft paper and some gift tags. Some of you pre-Christmas might not have these, but hopefully you can get yourself some paper before you get started, because you're going to need it. And the other thing you're going to need is, so if you open up the booklet, you will see that it says you need some paper for extra paper, but also you would need a wooden spoon, a pencil and a biro or a Sharpie, like a permanent marker, and that's to draw onto the lino. So I've got with me my pencils. I'm going to add that to my kit, a wooden spoon that you can just see here, and I'm just also putting in some scrap paper and a biro. So that's what you need as your little extras, and that should get us going. So I'm going to put the paper aside apart from my scrap paper. I'm going to put the wooden spoon aside, my print papers, and in fact I don't need my ink or my roller right now, so I'm also going to put that aside. I forgot to mention the printing boards. You've got a plastic board here which you will put the ink on, and it's smooth, so it's easy to wash off. So put that aside as well. And also what came with the paper was the tracing paper, so everyone should have this in their kit. It is, so we are going to start with drawing our design. So if I turn this the right way around, also just so we can follow along with the booklet, the first thing is to draw, oh, where's my camera? Draw your image. So I've written here as instructions to draw around your lino on some scrap paper, and then you can draw your design in the box. And once you've got your drawing, you can trace around that, and that's when you'll transfer it to lino. So to follow those instructions, I'll also just move these aside. I've got some scrap paper, And I'm going to draw around the shape of that, so the border. And so if I open it up, you can see, I know the light's a little bit strong here, but you can see I've drawn that. So basically that's just so you know not to draw any bigger than that lino, than that size, because it won't fit on your lino. And it just kind of helps you have that framework when you get started. So right now you're probably thinking, I have no idea what I'm going to draw, and that's fine. You can look around you, maybe look at some magazines or some reference books if you've got some for inspiration, and you might find some that you could maybe trace. I've actually photocopied a reference book which was of some animals and insects, and these are really lovely as a first kind of image to draw. So you want to try and go simple, obviously, and often I bring these to my workshop, a few reference images. So you might, at this stage, if you find an image in a magazine or in a book, and you know that's going to fit inside that shape of the lino, you could go ahead and trace around that with tracing paper. Or if you wanted to draw it, then you want to fit that inside here. So you can also obviously turn it around. You can turn it around so it's landscape, or you can keep it portrait. I think I'm going to trace. Actually, I'm going to draw by looking at one of these butterfly moths. I'm not sure if it's a butterfly or a moth, so I call it butterfly moth. But yeah, you can, there's no shame in tracing at this stage, because you've probably not had much practice with this, so you just want to kind of start with a simple image, really. I think the butterfly and moth is a nice image to start with. So the light isn't really showing so I'll try and maybe if I push down harder. Yeah, that's coming out better. And so I'm just drawing this on some scrap paper, which actually I use for my printer. So it's really cheap paper, just as you're starting sketch. Doesn't have to be on nice paper, but it can be whatever paper you have. You'd even draw it on an envelope if you don't have much scrap paper. So I've got the basic shape here of the butterfly, and I'm just going to add in a couple of the details here. And some inner lines here. So obviously at this stage you might want to just go ahead, pause this and draw your design, and then start it again when you're ready for the next stage. Okay, great. I think that's my image that I'm fairly pleased with. I think it's going to make a nice first lino print design, and you can also add in a bit more detail once you're carving. So from here, I'll put away my reference pictures, and now I'm going to transfer this to the lino. So you might wonder how we're going to do that. I'm going to show you. So you get your tracing paper. I'm going to draw again the design. So we're completely doing exactly what we've just done, just drawing over your design. And you have to use a pencil at this stage. If you use a pen, it's not going to transfer, I'm afraid. So at this stage, you are, yeah, still on the drawing stage. And you could tape the tracing paper down so it doesn't move, but you could probably hold it still. And what's really nice about Lino is that you there is a lot, it's a lot slower than other art forms, and that's a nice thing because you can just focus on your drawing, and the fact that you're having to redraw it twice kind of helps you refine your drawings. You might decide to leave some of these lines out, or you might add in some extras. You want to be quite confident with your drawing because you are going to be carving it out. So you want to really love the drawing that you're using and not change your mind. So it's worth thinking about it for a while and then going ahead. So I've traced the outline sketch, and now I'm going to put this away, keep hold of it. And I'm going to transfer it onto the lino. So I flip it over, that's really important. And then you're going to rub the back of it with a pencil. Just use it on its side. So rather than at the point, use it on its side. And this will just help press the pencil lines onto the lino. So you're putting a bit of pressure down. Oops, my pencil's broken. I've got another one. I might have just pushed a little bit too hard there. Really matter what direction you go in, as long as you cover the whole design, and you don't need to shade in the bits that you haven't got drawing on. You're just shading in those bits that do. So essentially your pencil lines will be pushed onto the lino. Okay, right, I have covered the whole design, rubbed it all on the back, and now I'm going to peel it off, and you can see, when the light's working, the drawing which is now transferred. So, and it's actually flipped my image as well, which is hard to notice on an image like this, the butterfly, because it's quite symmetrical. But if you were doing lettering, you would have to flip those letters. And actually, you don't need to worry about it when you're drawing your design. For example, I'll show you. So if we go back a little bit, a few steps, go back to my design. If I was to draw a bee for a butterfly here, for example, and I use my tracing paper. So I've drawn it the right way around on my design. So it's just because my camera's upside down. So I've drawn it the right way here, and I've traced it the right way. And then when it goes onto the lino, it's then flipped. So you don't need to worry about, trying to work out the reverse lettering, because the tracing paper does that for you. as you can see here, it's now, so even if I show you it the right way there, it's now flipped that B. So that helps us understand about the reverse imagery that the tracing paper does. Great, so at this stage now we want to use a biro or a permanent marker, and you're basically just going to draw around these lines because it's still in pencil and it might be quite faint depending on how light you've drawn your sketch and how lightly you traced over it. So we're just using the biro to make those lines really defined and a bit bolder. Also at this stage, you want to think about what areas are you going to cut out and what areas are you going to leave. So all the areas that you cut away won't be printed, and everything that's left will take the ink and be printed. So if I wanted this butterfly to be to have black bold shapes here, I say black because it's often just the color we think of when we're trying to imagine the relief and the negative, so black and white. So what I'll do, first thing is I'll draw around the shape and then we'll talk more about where I'm going to cut away and where I'm not. So just using the biro to yet again trace around the shape. This is where you really either start to love or hate your image. I really hope it's the first. And you also just make it more confident each process you go with this. And yeah, just sort of making those lines a bit bolder. So now you can see I've drawn one side here in the biro and the other side is just a pencil. So the biro just helps those image lines come out. My butterfly's getting these kind of love heart shapes in there, which I think is quite nice. It's just happened accidentally. And right, so now I've gone around the outline with my biro. Now is the time I'm going to think about what I want to have the ink on. So you can just use a cross-hatching reference. So for example, I'm thinking that I would like these to be inked up. So what I'm going to do is shade these in. I get closer to the camera. So I've just done a kind of line around those, and that just helps me visually see where I want the color to be. So just doing so it's not really a cross hatch, it's just a hatch. just lines, diagonal lines there. And then I'm going to have this as a color as well. So I'm going to just do this cross hatch lines. And as I've got this, I think I'm going to keep that white. And I'll just close in that line there. I think that will be nice. And I'll do the same on the other side, keep it kind of symmetrical. So I'm going to want to keep this as my inked up color. So everything that I'm not putting a diagonal line on, I'm going to cut away. So for this section, what I'd quite like is to have these lines cut out So they will be white, and I want the main thing to be a color. So I'm going to cross hatch down here, but I've still got my lines that I can see where I want to cut into. And the next thing is this section. So I think I will have maybe a line here and a line here. And I'm going to shade this in. So then I'll have these white areas in between where my the stem is there of the butterfly. Yeah. And I also want to keep these, I want these to be the bold color. Okay, so everything that's not got lines on, I'm going to cut away. And I think I'll do the bee just as well. So I'll draw around that bee. And I definitely want the bee to be a color, so I'm going to ink that. I'm going to cross hatch that, just like so. Okay. So you don't have to actually do this, but this is just so I can really clearly see where I'm cutting away and where I'm not. And if it works better for you, you could do the cross hatching on the areas you want to cut away. So it doesn't really matter which way, it's just a visual reference. So at this stage, I'm ready to cut, which is exciting. So you've got your handle here and 3 cutters blades. They are 3 different sizes. So you've got a really small size, which is a number 1. Then you've got the medium size, which will be a 2 or a 9, and there's a 10, which is the wide size. There may also be, yes, you may have a 1, a 9, and a 10 as well, which is also sort of small, medium, and large. So if you look closely at them, they have the same ends, and they all have different blade tops. So that's because they all slot in to the same handle. So that's why they have all the same bottom. So to get them in, you just need to twist the handle. So then it's opened, and all you need to do is make sure it's the right way around, slot it in and twist it. So just going to refer to the instructions. So we've done drawing your image, which is the first page, and we've flipped it and traced it. We've also drawn around it in biro, and we've done some cross hatching to the areas that we want to either ink or keep white. And now we're on this section, which is just how to use the lino cutting tool. So first thing is you want to use your test piece, and you don't need to draw anything on it. You could if you wanted to, but it's fine to just use it as it is. So it's nice and tight on here, and what I would suggest is to just carve out some straight lines. So how to hold the handle, you don't want to hold it like a writing pen. You want to hold it with this handle in the palm of your hands, and I hold the metal edge with my sort of thumb and my first finger, and that just helps me control it. I'm kind of working quite close to the table, so not on an angle. It's quite parallel to the table. And health and safety, please don't put your hand here if you're carving, because it's really dangerous. Especially with the soft cut lino, it glides so smooth that it will go faster than you expect, and you won't be able to move your hand out of the way. So always put your other hand, obviously you need to hold the lino, but just put that out of sight from where the blade's going, And yeah, just next to it, just behind it, so you can hold on to the lino, but not in the direction that the blade's going. So I'm just going to do one long line, just to demonstrate. This is the lino that's come off. So it's really thin. I've barely even scraped the surface there. That's pretty fine. And but if you use your fingernail just to check, if you can feel a groove on there, so when you go from the smooth to the cutout area and then back to the smooth, if you can feel that groove, that thickness is fine. You don't need to go much thicker, much deeper with the cut, but you also can. It doesn't really matter. The deeper you go, the closer you get to the other side of the lino. So if you cut quite deep, you probably can't do a lino on the back. But if you're working quite carefully and you're just carving quite a thin thickness away, you can utilize your lino and use both sides. I don't tend to do that myself because I tend to cut them down when I print them, but it is really great if you're just into practicing and want to make the most of the lino you have. It's a great idea. So back to our practice. So I would practice doing some straight lines and change the blade and see the different thickness that comes from the different blades. So I just quite simply twisted that and changed to a thicker blade. Okay, and this one, the thicker one, obviously does, you can see quite easily that it's cutting quite a wider shape there. So it's going to be great for cutting away large areas. So you might just want to practice doing some like dashes, some short lines, and turn the lino around. So that's a really great way to keep your hands away from where the blade's going. If you get to a point where you think, oh, I can't finish off my drawing unless I put my hand here, just turn the lino around and then you can always carve away from yourself. And you might notice how I'm sort of going onto the lino and just pulling off the shaving bits. So the bits that are like, yeah, what you've cut away, they might just get a bit stuck. And you can just use your fingernail, just wipe them free. But otherwise it might just come off really smoothly. So I've tried them all except this thinnest one. So if I put the thin one in, and oh, it's so thin. That's right. It's so thin and delicate. There you can see the difference between the wide cutters and the large one and the thinner one. You may want to kind of go in at a slightly taller angle and then push it down so it's more parallel to your table surface. Okay, so yeah, as long as you can feel the groove, those thin lines will come through. If it's feeling like you can barely notice that carving that you've just done when you wipe your finger over it and your fingernail doesn't quite catch it, I think it's probably not deep enough. But all of these I would say are fine. So if you're trying to look on the edge, you can't really see much in terms of like how much I've cut away. It's very difficult on a computer screen, but hopefully you can understand it. But it's, yeah, I don't know in measurements, but not very much at all. So that's drawing straight lines, which is great for lino. It glides really smoothly on this lino. But if you want to do curves or circles, I'll show you how to do that. So if I want to do a wavy line, I would put my carving tool into the lino, so it's kind of like caught onto the lino, and then with my hands away from where the blade's going, I'm going to twist the lino, but keep my cutter in the lino. So I'm twisting the lino block, but keeping the blade securely in the lino. And then I'm wiggling a line across here. So hopefully you can see that if I zoom in, I've created sort of a curved line. Let's change the blade. If I wanted to draw a circle here, you could just draw directly onto your lino with a biro, and I'm going to go all around that. Obviously it's very tricky with a small one like this, but if you're careful, you can have a practice on this. So what I'm doing is carving away the border of this, and I'm twisting the lino and keeping the cutter in, just like I was doing the wavy line. Okay, right, so it's twisted all the way around there, and that's drawn a curve, a circle. If you want to do that at a smaller scale, you could, if you wanted to just do like a dot here, so you can catch it with the blade. So if I go a bit closer there, and then hold it more upright and do the same where you twist the lino, but keep, rather than pushing it, you're just kind of keeping it quite still as your other hand is twisting it. And then you lift it off, and there's the lino that's come free. And then if I show you this closer, that's made a circle. So that's worked quite well. I used the medium-sized tool for that. And yeah, of course, just doing curves would be the same thing, holding the lino and twisting it. So I really would like you to test different ways of drawing shapes, making lines and marks, and see what you find works best for each cutter, and you'll get the hang of it in no time, definitely. Great, so now I've had my practice on this block, I'm going to now do it on the actual lino, and hopefully you'll find this a nice kind of therapeutic thing to do when you're carving out your lino, because that's what most people say about it, is that the process of lino cutting is very therapeutic once you kind of get your head around where you're cutting and where you're not cutting. So I am going to start by going around the outside edge. So I'm not cutting into the line, I'm just going around the outside. And can you see that curls off there really nicely? And I'm just kind of being quite gentle, gliding it across. You don't have to do it in one big go, you can stop at any point, peel off the lino and go ahead and glide it in again. And I think you'll be satisfied with how smooth this lino is and how it is really easy to cut. And if there are some bits that are quite fiddly, like for these antennas, I am probably going to go back in with the smaller cutter and get a neater line work there. But for now, I'm just going to go around the whole edge. And because I've been doing lino cutting for years now, that I do find this quite easy, but at the same time, you still need to have a lot of concentration. And it's a lovely process to just do for an evening, take your mind off your day, and just carve away any worries you may have. That's how I'd like to think about it. Yeah, and so I've gone nearly all around this whole border. And this is what I've got left with. So just the stringy bits of lino. Just get rid of that. So you can see I've carved the whole edge. So what I'm going to have is, if I was to print that right now, I just have a white line on a, let's call it just with our blue ink, blue surface and a white line. But that's not what I want. I want to cut away all of this. So I'm going to cut away all of the background. I'm not going to cut the B, I'm going to cut around that B, cut out those little bits. So everywhere that's not got cross lines on, I'm going to cut it. So you can kind of approach it in a design way. You might want to go around your whole butterfly. If you were doing a butterfly shape like mine, you might want to just follow that, the way you've cut that out. Or you might want to just cut it away in a sort of outward direction. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to change my blade to a wider blade. And I'm just going to cut at this diagonal angle. And this is cutting away that background, because I don't want that background to be printed. I want it to be white. So you can see why you want this wider cutter, because you're going to cut away quite a lot of this image for sure. And yeah, so if you were to just cut it in like a linear way, if you would just go up, that would be fine. But what you'll see is, because there are grooves in the way I've cut it, some of those might be picked up by the ink. So you might want to think about the direction you're cutting, because some of those lines might come through, and it will look quite nice if you've thought about that direction. So I'm going to keep going around this whole thing. And you might notice how I'm starting from the border of my drawing and then pushing the cutter away. So obviously it's a health and safety thing, but also if I was to accidentally slip on the cutting tool, it would slip into, so if I was to do it this way and push, it might slip into my design, and I don't want to do that. I want it to be obviously keep it nice and neat. So I'm going to just keep it going on this angle. I might just stop there, and then what I'll do is carry on with this, and then we'll go on to the next stage. So I've been busy carving away and have finished the border. So that's now complete. So you can see I've carved away all of my background. And I've kind of tried to keep it going in this sort of spiral direction, where it's kind of cutting out from the outside or inside to the outer edge, all across because I think that's quite satisfying. And I've also carved around my bee. I've not quite done the detail yet. I haven't cut those inner bits, but we'll do that together. So, and you can also feel the relief edge because lino is relief printmaking. So you see all of the shavings of the lino that's left. So you can kind of tidy up as you go, or just pile it in one. Sort that out later. So for my next thing, I'm going to do some detail. So I'm going to go to the smaller cutter. Like we practiced earlier, is a lot finer. And I'm going to go around some of these outside edges of where I want white to be. So I'm going to just follow in the same way. So around the outside line, turning the lino as I carve, and just stopping at any time. If it gets too stiff, it might just be that you're going a bit too deep, and you can just pull the lino blade off, take a breath, and then get back to where you started. It doesn't have to be in one big smooth action of the carving. You can just do it in little chunks. And then you'll probably just get the flow of how it works best for you, because even how I described how you hold your handle, it might just vary depending on how comfortable it feels for you. So don't be afraid to let that change, as long as you know that it's working. That's great. So I'm going around this other outer edge. And as you can see here, my line is quite close to where the background is. So I'm going to leave a little gap. You can emphasize any areas like this with your biro. So if I had to draw back on here, so I know don't cut any onto the biro there, and just cut from the outer edge of that. So that's what I'll do, is carve from the outer edge. Let's have a closer look. So I've gone from the outer edge of this like heart shape, and then I've gone from the outer edge here. And then everything else needs to be cut away. I might switch to the medium size cutter. Slot that in, and then you can go from your the edge to the other edge, and then just slow down a little bit when you get close to that, and just peel off the shaving of the lino. If you go too fast, there's a chance that you might cut into your next area. It does happen, but you can kind of neaten that up. You can go back in and try to make it look like it was purposeful. Some people ask, if you make a mistake, how do you go back and change that? And unfortunately, if you were to cut something in the lino, you can't really glue it back in. I think it would be, I mean, maybe some people have done that, but it wouldn't last very long if you were to glue something back on. So you kind of have to live with the mistakes and kind of work with them, so you can try to improve them, and yeah, see if you can make them look intentional. And it's fine to make mistakes on your lino, because you're just going to learn, and that's how we learn mostly, is through trial and error, trying things out and having a go, and then making a mistake, but then just keep going. So I've nearly cut out that whole area, so just wanted to show you closer. And yeah, I've been quite careful not to cut into the other side, but there are some bits that I think that if I was to go with the thinner cutter, I could just smooth off some of these edges. Yeah, so as you're carving away, this sort of white or a lighter blue kind of comes through. So it kind of helps you visualize how your print's looking, because obviously everything that's blue right now will print and everything you're cutting away won't. So even though we've said that already a few times, it's just good to remind yourself, because it's easy to forget what you're doing when you're in the moment of it. So what I'm going to continue with is continue cutting out these areas. You might even start to change your mind at this rate, because I'm thinking it would look quite nice if I flipped the design a bit. But do I think that's a good idea? So what I'm thinking out loud is that maybe I want this to be inked up, and then I want to cut this one out. So I might do that. It's going to confuse it a little bit, but as it's a symmetrical design, I think that we can get away with it. So I'll show you what I mean. So I'm going to cut now the heart rather than the border. So I'm just going to do the reverse of what I've just done. So I'm going to go into the heart shape here. And obviously it's a little bit more delicate because you have to try to keep this shape, whereas when you're cutting the background of something, it's not as precious. So that's why I'm using the finer tool, and I'm just going a bit slower so I know that I'm getting the right shapes that I want. And yeah, just sort of wiping it as I go, so then the shavings of the lino don't get stuck in the blade, so just sort of push them out of the way. Yeah, it does seem that the thinner cutter is almost stiffer to use, it's harder to use, because it's only cutting away a small area, so you can't use it for big chunks. So you just have to be more patient and cut away bit by bit. And make sure you're using the right size for the right area, just to make your life easier. Okay, so now I can look closer. So what I've done is I've done the reverse of what I've done here, just to demonstrate that. And I think that I'll do the same on the other side for me. Yeah, so I feel like I'm running through the main basics of cutting, and I feel like you'll be quite confident with what you're doing. Maybe just to demonstrate how I would do this B is to use the thinner tool and just cut around that biro line and twisting the lino until it meets the other edge, just like so, and then you can just neaten that up, cut a little bit more away. And if there are some areas like here, I've actually got a few bumps that I'm not really happy with, you just make that be a little bit thinner and make those lines a bit neater. So obviously it's like just being a bit patient and enjoying the fact that you have to work a bit slower because it's lino cutting, so it's not an immediate process. Obviously once you're drawing, that drawing is complete, that's the end of that, but with lino you've got to transfer and then draw it again and then carve it out and maybe define those shapes a little bit more, and then we can print it. But yeah, so it's just kind of working with your designs, and I'll just carry on carving away this design. If you are like me and you do change your mind, just make sure you've used the biro so you really understand where you're cutting and where you're not cutting. And then we'll next talk about printing. So I'll carry on with this. Okay, so I've been busy carving a bit more, and I've carved away the main shape insides of my design. And you can see now I've gone for something which is a sort of symmetrical and opposites. So I think I'll have a nice kind of range of designs there. So just to finish it off, I'm going to put in some details on this, the body and the antennas. So I'm using the really thin cutter, and so I'm going to do these curved edges and just twisting the lino, and then I'm going to lift that off or just wipe it off. I'm just doing these sort of little curve like semicircles, and that should just give it a little bit of shape in the body. And some of you might have a dilemma like I did, where you've got a white area and then you've got your background which is also white, so you just need to give it a line, so don't cut into that line, and that should be enough to kind of keep your design together, because obviously, like I said before, you can't go back, so you don't want to cut too much away if you're unsure, because you can always print your design and then look at it and decide if you need to cut any more areas away. But obviously you can't do the opposite. You can't cut everything out and then wish you left some things in there. And you can just use your thinner number 1 cutter to smooth out some of those lines on your outline if you feel that you need them. So I'm just doing that here, and I'm just going to add in a couple of lines to the top of the antenna and hope that that looks okay. Yeah. Okay, yeah, I think that looks okay. And maybe just another semicircle here. Right, so that's my design all finished and now ready for ink. So the next stage is printing. So to go back to our booklet, finish the carving. Now we're going to use our print boards and squeeze out the ink. You can spread it across with a knife, but it's just fine with the roller as well. So let's get to that stage. Okay, so I have cleared away the shavings from the lino and just made some space on the desk for printing. I've put out my ink and my roller, my board, plastic board. It may have the plastic film on, so you just need to peel that off. That's just to protect the board. So take that off. And then I've also brought along my papers and also some scrap bit of printing paper, just general printer paper. And that's for your keeping it clean, basically. So I've moved my papers just to one side. I've got 2 of these printing papers. One is going to be where I can let it get messy, and the other one is going to be actually where I put the lino and keep it clean. So just some scrap paper. Hopefully you've got some lying around somewhere. The other thing is you might want some newspaper under your board just to make sure you don't get any ink spilling out. So in fact, I might do that. Great. So I've got some backup paper just in case the ink spills out. You might want to put on an apron as well. Depends how precious your clothes are. So I'm just going to squeeze out quite a small amount, like as much as you would put on your toothbrush, that kind of amount. And you are just going to use the roller, spread it down, and allow that ink to move onto this printing board. You can hear the inky sticky sound. And what you're trying to do is get the blue ink to cover the roller. So I'm just pushing it up and down and then left and right. So what you'll get is an even coverage. And that looks pretty nice and even to me on that roller. So I really didn't put very much on. So it's enough for what I need, but if you put too much on at first, it can just go a bit too blotchy. So from here, I'm going to use the roller, apply it onto my lino, and I'm not really pushing down, but if you think that the ink's on the roller and it's not, just put a bit of pressure down. Back to my printing board, just to pick up a little bit more ink. And I think I've been a bit stingy with my ink. I think I can put a little bit more on, so it's fine to do that just as you feel it, where it needs more ink. The worst thing is to have too much ink. And just as you start printing, the ink will stay on the lino, so you'll just be reapplying it each time. And so it will get darker each time you print. So the first one will be a lighter print, as expected. I'm just making sure it's fully covered, and then I can move on to my clean paper. I have kind of not managed to get this one too inky, so that one's actually fine. I could just use this, but just to keep the routine, I'm going to change papers. So this one's nice and clean. I'm putting my lino down so it's facing up, and then I'm going to put my paper that I want to print on top. So depending which way you want to print it, because I've done mine a landscape, I'm going to turn the paper landscape as well. And once it's on and you can feel the ink having touched that paper, you don't want to lift it off and move it. You want to just keep that and just press down with your fingertips. So what happens is it sticks to the paper. And then from here, you want the wooden spoon that you've been saving for this moment. And you're going to just move around the whole back of your paper in a circular motion. And basically, this is your printing press, which is your hands and the spoon combined. As you're putting the pressure down, it's helping that that ink just grab onto the paper. And you can just do it with your hands, but the wooden spoon gives you quite a good coverage. And you might also start to see the grooves of the lino on the back of the paper. And that helps you understand if you've put the pressure down on those areas or not. It's when you lift off the paper, you'll see if you've missed any areas. There might just be some that you've accidentally not rubbed the back of. You just kind of to work also. You don't have to do it fast. You can do it in your own speed. Key thing is to just not allow that paper to move. Try to hold it really still. It does help because the ink sort of sticks onto it, but you don't want to let go of this other hand is holding it firmly down. You don't want to let go of that, otherwise it could just wobble, and that will just make your print a bit a bit of a misprint, which can be quite a nice effect. So you can use all these different effects if you like that. So I can really see all around my design now. It's really coming through on the back. I don't know if the camera's picking any of that up, but I certainly can. And just for good luck, you can press down with your hands, smooth it around the back, and then it's the moment of truth. You can peel it off from here. Start to see your design coming through, which I think is looking really nice. And I'm peeling it off, and now bring it to the camera so you can see that. So the bees come out the right way around, which is good. And you can see some of the lines here that have come from where I cut the background. It actually works quite well. It looks like it's got quite good even pressure, and some of the ink I think is darker in some areas, just depending on how it's picked up on the roller. But it will dry, and I think it will dry slightly lighter. I found this water-based ink does that, and it's actually a really nice kind of icy blue, which it turns out like. So that's my first print. I'm going to show you how to do a second print. I'm going to put this aside, and it won't take very long to dry. I would say hour, maybe a couple of hours with this water-based ink. So what we're going to do is switch the paper. So I've got my inky paper again. Using the roller again, apply the ink onto the lino. And I think it does need a little bit more, so I'm going to squeeze a bit more on. Just spread it across. If you think it's got a little bit too much on, you can just use the roller and sort of push it and lift it off at the end. And what that does is kind of picks up any of the blotchy areas. And just do that across both ways. So if it works, I'm going to print this on the card, and I should really use the clean paper. So switch that up, get some clean paper, wind that up, and then use the brown card here and line it up just by eye. And once it's on, just press down. Okay, so my liner has stuck onto the one side of the card. Let's hope I did it the right way around, because I didn't really check. So I'm just pressing with my hands, and then I'm going to get my wooden spoon. If your wooden spoon, like mine, has got a little bit of ink on, then you could use a bit of paper in between your actual paper that you're printing on, and just so then any like marks that you might make from the wooden spoon can just go on this scrap paper. So that just helps keep it nice and clean, because as you can see from this wooden spoon, it's got quite a lot of ink on. And just any little tips to make it a bit neater for you helps. So it really does help by just putting pressure and taking your time just to make sure you've got every little area and little corner, and just carefully walk around with your fingertips, because you don't want to have done all this work and then you've just printed it with not an even amount of pressure, and then it's not the full image that you were expecting. So I think I've done that now, and I'm just going to rub it with my hands as well. So I'm going to lift that scrap paper off, and then I'm going to peel this up, and you can see my print has come through on the brown paper there. So yeah, it's actually really nice on the brown paper. You can also try to look at your design, and if there's some areas, like large areas here that have ink, and you think it might be nice to add a bit more design into that, you would just wash that lino with hot soapy water. Just use a sponge to wipe it off as well, and then you can cut back into it, so it can just be cut again and printed again. It doesn't matter how many times you do that. So that's my brown paper design. I'm quite happy with that. That's nice. You've also got some tags and some cream paper, so you could practice printing with lots of different types of paper you have at home, just to see the different effects that you can get. And so I'll just do one more. So I'm going to print this again and change over. This is my clean paper. Getting the hang of keeping this organized, and this is the inky one. So my liner has quite a lot of ink on. Just going to roll over those areas again. And this ink does dry quite quickly. So if you put the ink out and gone and made a cup of tea and then come back, the ink might be dried. So it's great because it means that the prints dry quickly, but it doesn't give you much time to go and get yourself a cuppa. So I would just wait until you've printed to get your cup of tea. So I'm just going to press with my hands, and this time I'm just going to show you how pressing with your hands still creates a print. And if you don't have a wooden spoon, or if you're finding that a little bit tricky, I'll just show you how it prints without a spoon. I'll just use my hands. I'm just going to press and put down some body weight into that. And if I peel this off, you can see it's still printed actually with quite a lot of coverage there. So I think it's because I'm used to it. I'm putting in the right kind of pressure where it needs to be. But there'll be some areas that maybe I could quite easily have missed off. So I would just do both, put a bit of your hand and body weight pressure, and then do the wooden spoon as well. So yeah, I love it on the yellow cream paper. Lovely. So just another thing to show you, and then I'll wrap this up, is if we was just print this as it is without putting any more ink on, let's see how that prints. So I'll place my paper down, put some pressure down with my hands. Use like the side of your palm as well as a little technique. Maybe I'll use the wooden spoon as well, just to give it a little bit more. So, because the thing with the wooden spoon is that you can really feel the grooves of the lino, so you know that you've caught every area. Feel the edges of the lino, make sure you get all those borders. Right, perfect. So just going to press that down. And so this, remember, this is not with the ink not reapplied, so it'll be much, much lighter. So I'll lift this off, and there we have it. So that is our lighter print. So in comparison to what it was before, which is much bolder, darker print, and this one is just the second print. Actually, I put quite a lot of ink on, which did give it quite a nice bold design there. But if you wanted to have different effects, if you wanted a lighter version, it's actually quite a nice way to use that. You could almost print them side by side, which would look lovely actually. Part of me wants to try that. But I think I'm going to have to let you experiment, and maybe you can send in your pictures because I would love to see how you've got on. So just to recap, to finish off, let's check our booklet. So we've done the inking, applied the ink onto the roller there, and then we've done the printing, which is rolling the lino on both sides and then rubbing it on the back with a spoon or hand pressure. And the next thing is make an addition. So you could decide you love this print, you're going to make 10 of the same cards, you just need to get a few more cards in stock, or you could just keep them as prints like this. And what you could do is put these in a frame and put them on display, because I think you should be really proud of yourself for getting this far if you've never done this before. Or if if you're used to this print technique, it's just something you're rekindling your interest in again, then wonderful. Maybe send it to a friend and try to inspire them. To get crafty, you can print on everything that comes in with your kit. You could also try and print on the tracing paper if you wanted, see what effect that gives. So to clean off the lino, you don't really want the ink to dry on this. You just want to wash it in the sink with hot soapy water and a sponge. And the same with the roller and the ink board, just literally run it under the tap. You'll be amazed at how quickly the ink just like runs free, and you have a clean board again. And then make sure it's dry, then you're good to keep it all boxed up and then use it again when you next fancy printing. So like I said before, you could use the back of this, but as you can see, I've carved into quite a lot of it. Also, I didn't mention, but like there's a little hole there. You can't really see it, but if you make a hole in your lino, it's absolutely fine, because it will just not pick up any ink because there's a cut edge in that. But you've got in your kit another block of lino. If you had the 2A6 size one, you might have just had one A5, which is just exactly the same, just not cut up. You might want to cut it before you get going, so then you can have another go on your next block. The other thing you can do is print your tester block and see what kind of prints that creates. So I'll leave you with those ideas, and you can let me know how you get on. We're on Instagram as Bristol Print Workshops, and we're also on Facebook, and we do have a Twitter. we sometimes tweet. But yeah, do tag us in your prints. We'd love to see what you've done. And we'll be releasing some new online workshops soon. So we'll hope to see you in, if not in real life, in an in-person online workshop. Would be great. If you have any questions at all, feel free to message us on any of those social media channels or email us. You might have our email from ordering the kit. But I hope you have fun and enjoy the process. And yeah, happy printing. So I've been Vicky, and we've been Bristol Print Collective. So hope you enjoy the prints, the printing kits. Bye then. Bye everyone.